Just 84 days after winning the WSL title with Chelsea, Emma Hayes led the USA to a 5th Olympic gold medal. What a fairy tale start for her, Rach. Hayes said the victory was the greatest moment in her professional career. They didn't lose a single game at the Olympics. I mean, do you think that could have been, as starts go, Rach, that kind of feels a little bit perfect?
Yes. I spoke to Emma Hayes before the Football Writers Association Awards back in January, February time. Mm-hmm. And she spoke about how much she was looking forward to stepping out on the pitch at an Olympics and like what a dream that had been for her. And she'd obviously kind of come up coaching wise in America. She'd done a lot over there. She really understood and respected the culture of sport over there. And I think, that winning mentality, which is something that she obviously brought to Chelsea as well. So I think for her to clinch something so monumental to her in like 78 days after taking charge, like something ridiculous like that is incredible. And I think there was doubts at times because it's not like any team absolutely ran away with the Olympics.
Absolutely.
I felt like after the group stages, you were like, okay, I feel like the USA might get to the final, probably be Spain. There wasn't really kind of it's definitely going to be them. It's definitely going to be them. They had to play extra time twice. And even against Brazil, like it was such a good game. It was such a fun game. It was end to end at times. Both sides had chances. Brazil had some brilliant chances. Nair made some huge saves. The crowd were really into it. There was pockets of Brazilian fans around and there was pockets of US fans. And when Brazil would chant Brazil, like in the space in between the chant of Brazil, you'd hear USA. And there was this kind of like back and forth. So the atmosphere was really great. But no, I just think like you couldn't write that. And I think we knew there was going to be a fairy tale ending, whoever won, whether it was going to be Marta picking up gold or whether it's going to be Hayes picking up her first piece of silverware.
Oh, definitely. I think
it was lovely.
When you kind of say, Hayes came along to the match with a new look. I don't know if anyone noticed, but those slicked back hair, I don't think it was anything we've really seen in the WSL. I feel like it kind of marks a new era of Hayes in a way. A lot of people commented on that for a start, but I think it was really moving after the game. She made such a touching tribute to her dad and kind of how much, he would have been proud of her and how much this moment would have meant to him, which was absolutely beautiful. And you can see the emotion in her face. She was sort of very, very tearful in the interviews, and it was nice to kind of see Emma, I suppose, kind of share that vulnerability with everyone, that it did mean so much to her. She was there with her sort of young son as well, and I think it was a beautiful family moment. So I think as starts go, it literally could not have been more perfect. But let's dive into the game itself. It obviously threw up quite a lot. You mentioned Alyssa Nair, but we'll touch on her in a second. But the first half, Rach, for me, I would have put my mortgage on Brazil scoring first. The amount of chances that they had, they just couldn't convert. The amount of crosses coming in, but it felt like they couldn't quite hit the mark. In terms of conversion, I feel like that's where they kind of lost the game, because had they sort of bedded one or two of those chances, it would have been a completely different landscape kind of going into the second half. But those missed opportunities came back and bit them in the second half. Rach, what did you think of Brazil in the first? Because I thought they were going away with the gold.
It was really interesting because they had identified where to hit the USA, it felt like, so they kind of bypassed the midfield a lot and they sent a lot of through balls through the middle of the defence. And they have a very good, I've been impressed with their central defenders, the USA, but a number of times there were balls almost splitting that defence 2, 3, 4 times almost. Once or twice it was that the Brazilian player couldn't get on the end of it. Once or twice it was that the US team were alive to it and were able to prevent it. So you could see kind of what they were trying to do. But conversely, the US were using their width a lot and they were catching Brazil out on the width, but it didn't feel like there was anyone there enough to be putting those chances home. So, yeah, those central opportunities were amazing. The goal that was disallowed, because she was offside, they did almost the exact same thing about 2 minutes beforehand. So there were patterns of play that they were repeating because they had recognised the issues and the areas to exploit, which I thought was really interesting. And it tests a young team like the US. It tests them to see how quickly they can adapt when things like that happen. And I guess they were just lucky that Brazil weren't sharp enough in front of goal. They had that one disallowed, but bloody hell, that first half, I felt like Brazil should have gone in ahead.
Absolutely. Brazil took the game to them. I mean, I wasn't too sure if there'd be sort of a little bit of kind of, caginess, I suppose, on that kind of stage. I know you sort of mentioned and touched upon there, sort of like, some of the fatigue that starts to creep in at the end of the tournament when you're playing those games sort of in quick succession, obviously come off the back of a really competitive season. But, it for me, I just felt like there was so much energy in both teams. And I think, I was just so disappointed that Brazil were missing it by fine margins, but also giving credit to Alyssa Neyer, who made some absolutely incredible, like lightning quick reaction saves. She became the first goalkeeper in women's history to have a clean sheet in a World Cup and Olympic final. I mean, talk to me, Rach, about what you saw in her performance, because to me, I think she was sort of like one of the players of the game for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. She was key to them winning. And I think you can say that, like, when you look through the team, I think you look at that front three that we've all talked about, but there have been moments where that defence has been key. I thought Germa's had a great tournament, and then you look at everyone's played their part, right, for them to get to that final match. And Neyer was absolutely key in them actually picking up the gold medal, because some of the saves she made, there was, I was down one end, so I was behind the goal, and there was a couple in that first half where you were just like, the ball's in, and then suddenly, she just kind of appeared out of nowhere like a cat. And then, similarly, right towards the death, there was an opportunity Brazil had, and she somehow got, I think it was her left hand to it, to tip it around. And just like, it's such a long tournament. We've touched on, the depth, the quick turnaround, all of that kind of stuff. And to be so switched on in those key moments, obviously it's your job, but I still, like, you're a goalkeeper, like, massive respect to be so switched on at every single little moment. And I think that's the makings between, good and great.
Oh, absolutely. And you've got to, like, appreciate, I suppose, the pressure, even the heat of the day. Like, it was intense. Like, you've already played like multiple games in the lead up to this in a very short space of time. So I just massive credit to her, and you could see how much it meant to her as well. The emotion, they were all kind of like, they'd fallen down on the floor, sort of hugging and crying. It was a big game. But I think taking it to the other end of the pitch, I mean, Mallory Swanson, I mean, in terms of obviously it being Emma Hayes' kind of like first major tournament in charge, this was Mallory Swanson marking her 100th appearance with the 4th goal of the tournament. And obviously what an iconic goal it turned out to be, the match-winning gold medal goal. I mean, Rach, what did you think when you saw it hit the back of the net? What were your thoughts?
Firstly, I was glad it wasn't going to extra time. If I'm totally honest. Fair. I just wanted someone to score. It felt like it was coming in the second half. Mm-hmm. Because they were getting up on the wings, they were causing that defence problems. I thought the Brazilian defence were doing well to handle. There were a lot of moments where you're like, oh, it's it. Oh, they're going to get a shot. Oh, so part of me was like, are Brazil going to be able to do it and keep hanging on and somehow keep finding another foot to put in front of these opportunities? I think she deserved the goal. And I think it just felt like it was coming in the second half, because I guess at the end of the second half, and then the first half, Brazil had an opportunity. And I think that kind of lit a spark in the US when they came out and they were like, right, it needs to be our turn to absolutely pummel them. So it felt like it was coming. It wasn't a huge surprise, but the stadium, the response of the players, it was cool. It's just such a cool experience to have where you're at an Olympic final and you're not like hugely tied into either team. Yet you get carried away with the kind of emotion of it all.
Absolutely. I think, and obviously I think to her it would have meant so much more. I think obviously like she missed out on the World Cup last year due to injury. Yeah. She's been kind of integral in the kind of the US games this tournament. I think it kind of feels like maybe a kind of redemption story for her in a way. And we've got a question from Neil on Instagram. He said, do you think that Swanson is the best number 9 in the world at the moment? That's
such a sweeping statement. It's like, I think we try and kind of put we try and determine so much sometimes from so little. Like, they've played like 4, 5, 6 games across the tournament. She's obviously had a very, very good turn. She's the best number 9 in the bloody tournament. Like, that's for
fair.
sure.
Yeah.
But it's so difficult when you think about the dominance of number 9s in other leagues. It's such a hard kind of, I guess, badge to pin on someone. But she's absolutely unbelievable. She's in flying form. And to do that in front of a new manager, that trio is being talked about up front. And I think Emma Hayes will be rubbing her hands together, looking at the age of some of those players and thinking, my God, what have we got to come here with this squad? Look at what they've done in such a short space of time. And you've got that front three starting to really click together. it's an exciting time. But yeah, she's definitely up there.
And the old triple espresso,
Oh, yeah.
is that how they're known now? Swanson, she's been a part of the US Women's National Team since 2016. She was just 17 at that time and has obviously seen the team rise and rise. She even played fullback at the 2019 World Cup as the USA's second youngest player. I think you forget the kind of legacy that she already has, kind of international level, given sort of like how youthful she appears. I don't think she ever sort of looks above about 19, 20 years old. And I don't want to get really emotional, but it feels only right that we mention Marta, obviously one of the greatest players to have ever graced our earth. It may not have been the kind of ending that she hoped for, but she still got an Olympic medal to kind of cap off her legacy in a Brazil shirt. Just to put it into perspective, her first Olympic Games, she's been through 6 Olympic Games. Her first Olympic Games, she was 18 years old when she started. That is just absolutely wild. Yeah, I mean, you could obviously, she was disappointed. You could tell that. Obviously, like, she didn't start the game, but she came on sort of fairly, sort of halfway through the kind of second half. And I think there was that kind of momentum there that everyone kind of, I think everyone stepped it up a gear a little bit once Marta came onto the pitch. To kind of, I feel like there was a different level of energy. Do you feel that, or do you feel actually she didn't make that much of an impact in the game, or what would you say?
I felt like it made an impact when she came on, right? But she was just slightly, her touch just wasn't quite there. And I guess sometimes that happens when you're being brought on towards the end of a match and expected to do something and you're a bit cold. And that's what it felt like. You know, obviously she missed a few games because of the red card. So I can understand why she didn't start. But she was so desperate to make an impact. And it just kind of felt a little bit like that. You know, some of the things she was trying, maybe the pass was just a bit too far, or, you know, she'd just mistouch it and she'd lose possession. And you could see it in her face that she was desperate to make an impact. She spoke afterwards as well, you know, saying that these tears weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of joy. Like, she got to stand on a podium with a silver medal in her final match. And I know it's not the goal, but it's still, if you're going to end your career in a match that means nothing, or a match that you stand on a podium with a bit of silverware around your neck, I know which one you're going to choose, right? And everyone, she got her moment. Everyone was cheering for her while she got the medals. And by the way, medal ceremonies take a really long time, which I was not aware of.
I think it's inappropriately unnecessary to go along the line and hand everyone their medals, and then go back along the line and hand everyone a poster.
To give them the friggin' posters. Do it at the same time.
Yeah.
Oh, God. And like all the people coming down the FIFA lot and stuff were like coming down waving their hands at the crowd. And I was like, we're not cheering for you, lads. We're cheering for the people behind you. So you had these like, right, this is what I said to Sophie. You had the people with the medals. Mm-hmm. They were like a cross between a minion and you remember Melissa McCarthy in Bridesmaids with the cap? Yes. Right? And it was, they all
like
came
Gucci
out with the medals behind them.
Is she absolutely ripping into like Gucci at this point? Right, okay.
Right, so no, but it took like 45 minutes for the actual medal ceremony to start.
Yeah.
The DJ was playing music and trying to get everyone to sing, and what's it called? I've completely forgotten. Sweet Caroline. Mm-hmm. What are you playing that for? Fuck's sake! I mean, everyone joined in. You like reluctantly go, right, okay, fine, like, Sweet Caroline. Like, but also you're a bit like, why are you playing that here? And then eventually they come out in like this line. Mm-hmm. And I'm actually glad it wasn't a team of 23, Chloe, because that would have been an extra 15 players to have gotten a medal and a bloody poster, and it would have taken another half an hour.
I agree.
Because it just so slowly go along the ceremony. Anyway,
well, they would have had to push back Tom Cruise's abseil at this point. So
when it came to her moment and her medal, like, it was lovely. The crowd, they'd been chanting her name, you know, so it was a lovely moment. And I know it's a shame it wasn't a gold, but at least she got something around her neck. And it was a special final match.
And at least, I suppose, she didn't have Infantino putting the medal around her neck.
He was there, though, wasn't he?
He was there, yeah, he was there. But
waving at the crowd like we were cheering for him.
Yeah, it was a bit odd.
Please.
Yeah, that's one face that we haven't missed.